Hello humans and welcome to another episode of Chef Mike Does Stuff. I of course am Chef Mike because it says so right here on my chef coat. I'd like to thank Team 17 and Epic Chef for sponsoring this video, but most importantly, as you may or may not know, I have been named the culinary ambassador to Ambrosia, and I will continue to say Ambrosia in that manner as often as I can. It is a magical, beautiful, mystical land full of wonderful ingredients for you to play with, and the townsfolk are also there. They may or may not help you. But if you ever need to test your culinary abilities, this is the perfect place, as culinary competitions are held all the time. Now, today's episode, we are going to use some ingredients that are indigenous to Ambrosia. But if you cannot find those ingredients, I, of course, will offer up some replacements that might be a little easier for you to find. And the two recipes that we are doing today is a seared Pangan Strogganof served with some local mushrooms and a rice pasta, and then a roasted hypnofish with an Irwin salsa and coconut milk rice. So usually I just do one. Today we're going to do two. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is start prepping some vegetables. Now I already went ahead and cut up a bunch of mushrooms. If you cannot find the delicious blue mushrooms in Ambrosia, use what you got. In the bottom of this, I've actually got baby portobello. On the top here, I've got button mushrooms. I don't care how you cut it. Just nice slices. They don't even have to be super even, but you need a big old bowl of mushrooms. Onions. Super easy. I like little strips. Like so. Once again, we're going to be cooking these quite a bit. They're going to shrink. They're going to look all different sizes. Don't care how accurate your cuts are there. Last thing we're going to prep on this cutting board, garlic. Now here's a super secret tip. Only if you're pro level and you're concentrating. If you're not comfortable with a knife, don't do this. So what I sometimes do, I put it on the end of the cutting board and I take my knife and I'm using the blunt side, okay? So there's a knife pointing up. You don't look away. You don't mess around off to the edge of the cutting board. But what happens is, similar to a garlic press, you're smashing the garlic instead of just cutting it. So it's super easy to get nice minced little pieces of garlic. Look at that. You know, usually you might be slicing and cutting it around a whole bunch, but that is a super easy way. Let me show you again. If you're not comfortable with this, use the garlic press. If you're not comfortable with that, chop it your normal way. You're not comfortable with fresh garlic, use dried garlic. Like so. I'm going to finish this one, and then we're going to do some chicken. All right, and for this recipe, I am using chicken because I could not get Pangun. Shipping right now is very difficult. So if you can get Pangun in Ambrosia, highly recommend you use that. If you can't find that, I'm using actually boneless, skinless chicken thighs for this. Now, we're going to season chicken. I like a lot of black pepper, especially in Strogganof. A little salt, little pepper, like so. And then I actually got a little smoked paprika. Just a touch. We're giving it a little flavor before we dredge this in flour. Flip it over and do it to the same size. Now, I actually keep it in this little shape. I mean, you could open it up so it's all nice and flat. If you so desire, you can use chicken breast. You can use beef. It's obviously very traditional, a beef stroganoff. But this is what we're using. And look how easy this is. Like so. Just a little bit of smoked paprika. And now both hands will get dirty. Dredging it in flour. Don't worry, we're going to put it back on the other plate. Give it a little pat, and that's it. That's really all. You don't have to worry if there's a little extra. Doesn't matter. And I'm actually putting it back on the same other plate. We're just getting a little bit on the outside. This is going to give us a little more of a crust, but also bonus points because it helps the sauce kind of stick to the chicken a little better. If it was just like grilled chicken or baked chicken, actually the sauce might not cling to it as well. So this certainly helps with that. It also is going to thicken the sauce just a little bit and give us a little crunchy bits on the bottom of our pan, which is going to help us make a delicious sauce. In this hot cast iron pan, we've got about 2 tablespoons of butter. We are going to just brown our chicken, okay? We're not cooking it all the way through. We're just going to brown it, and then we're going to take it out. We're going to put a bunch of other ingredients in the pan, and then later we're going to put the chicken back in to finish cooking. Now, yes, I am going to put the chicken back on this same plate that I've already done twice because this is not ready to eat food. We are cooking the chicken more, so it's okay that I'm using this plate. If this chicken was to be fully cooked and we were taking it out, certainly do not use this dirty plate. So in about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, I will take these out. All right, the chicken is browned on both sides. Have your onions ready. Take the chicken out. Right when you take the chicken out, we're going to put onions right into the pan. Move it around. We're going to saute this till they're nice and soft. I usually like a little browning, a little caramelization on it, so I cook it a little longer than some people, and that's okay. I lost an onion. If a fancy recipe says sweat onions, this is about where it's at. So just translucent, I can't even say it. The little bit of color on there is actually from the paprika and the butter and everything else we had in the pan. But now it is time to add all of our mushrooms. And I'm going to probably cook this for more like 15-20 minutes so all the moisture from the mushrooms are gone. Okay, our mushrooms looking great. Just a little bit of browning on the bottom. All the moisture is cooked out. This is perfect. I turned it down to like a medium-low right now. I'm going to add all that garlic we chopped up. Give it a quick little stir in. I am going to add a shot of Dijon mustard. That much looks good. And then I'm going to reach into the cabinet because I forgot to add a nice sprinkling of paprika. This also in Strogganof does give a lot of color to the sauce. And because I'm using smoked paprika, it's got a smoky flavor. And just mix that all together. All right. Does not look that glamorous at the moment, but it is perfect. There's stuff stuck to the bottom, which is great because now we are going to deglaze the pan. I would recommend turning the fire off for your safety. And then putting it back down to medium and using your little wooden spoon or scraper, whatever you got. Move everything around. Scrape the bottom of the pan to get all the tasty little bits off because that is flavor country. Next thing we're going to do is add a tablespoon of flour, basically with the fat that's already in the pan here. Remember we started with 2 tablespoons of butter. We're basically making a little roux, a little thickening agent, so this is going to thicken our sauce. We're going to cook this for about a minute. Once again, at this point, it looks like a mashy ball of mess, but that's okay. There's more stuff stuck to the bottom, especially the flour. We do want this to cook just like for a minute, so if you were to use raw flour, add liquid, and start cooking, you might get a little grainy texture. It might taste like undercooked flour, like little bits of particulate. You could almost taste particulate. That's a big word for stuff, because I'm fancy like that. Okay. So that's probably good right about there. Now I'm going to add 2 cups of chicken broth. If you can't find Pangan broth. And then a couple shots of Worcestershire sauce. Now, if you have a seafood allergy, do not use regular Worcestershire sauce, as one of the main flavoring agents in it is anchovies. So, what are you going to do? So I'm going to cook this until it gets nice and thick. It's probably going to be 6 or 7 minutes or so. And then we'll keep rocking and rolling. Make sure to scrape everything off the bottom of the pan too. Alright, it's been about 6 minutes. You can see that the sauce is looking pretty tasty, nice and thick, reduced. Flour seems to be cooked through. Now we're going to add about a half cup of sour cream. We're going to let that kind of melt in. Now it's going to look a little weird in the beginning. It might look like it's an oily mess, but we're going to want to cook this for maybe 4 or 5 minutes just to make sure that everything is nice and melted through, cooked evenly. If there's a big old slick mess of fat on the top, your sauce might have split. When someone says your sauce split, usually that means that there's like a layer of oil floating on the top that, unfortunately, no matter what you do, for the most part, you might want to start over, or I mean, you could still eat it. It's going to taste a little different texture-wise too, but hey, you do you. So in a few more minutes, we're going to throw our chicken in. All right, we're going to season it with salt and pepper now. I like a lot of pepper. You add however much pepper you so desire. There's some salt. I did taste this off camera, I promise. And now we are going to add the chicken back to this. And we are going to cook it. I put it back on like medium low. And we're just going to cook it until the chicken is done. Got it right here. Now, once again, don't use this plate anymore. If you remember, I used this plate a couple times, because this was not ready to eat chicken. We had to cook it until it's done. So this plate is going away, never to be used again. There we go. Put it on, like I said, medium low. Maybe in 2 or 3 minutes we'll give it a flipperino. And while that's cooking, let's get some noodles going. It is time to plate. Now, got our chicken, got our sauce. Like I said, I used chicken because the Pangan could not find it. So these are chicken thighs here. I got rice noodles, rice pasta. Why did I do that? Because the judge I know who's going to eat this in Ambrosia prefers it. Is it the traditional noodle that goes with Strogganof? No, usually like an egg noodle or something like that. But I'm cooking for my guest, and I need to use whatever I have at my disposal to make sure the judges are happy. So we're going with, actually, this is a brown rice noodle. The other fun thing when plating, look at this. I got a plate on a plate, and it's not moving. How do you do that? Wet paper towel. Anytime you're serving something on a plate, highly recommend doing something so that the plate doesn't slide around on the other plate. The last thing, yes, I'm going to serve this in a bowl like this. Some things just aren't as beautiful as others. However, super delicious. The sauce in this is amazing, and especially in Ambrosia. Sauce is a super important part. It gives the inhabitants like vigor. It gives them like enhanced feeling or whatever. They love sauce, so really make sure that the sauce is how you want it. So what I'm going to do first, I've got my bowl here. Let's see, what's camera friendly? Here we go. I did have to add some broth to this because it was a little too thick. It's pretty thick right now, but I kind of like that consistency. It's not like super thick. Okay, so I put that over my bed of noodles, like so. I'm going to take 2 pieces of chicken, because I'm hungry today. Go that one, and then this little one. So how about that? Okay. Like I said before, I would probably recommend stirring this or serving this a little more family style. I think that actually looks a little nicer, but hey. And then I'm just going to finish with just a little bit of thick chopped flat leaf parsley. And just like that. Pangan Strogganof. In this instance, I'm using, obviously, chicken thigh. Served with local mushrooms. Could not source the blue mushrooms, so I've got white and baby portobellas. And then with rice pasta, which I did in fact use rice pasta. And just like that, I have a delicious lunch that I am going to devour. Like I said, I did not use all the traditional ingredients you might use in a stroganoff because I was cooking for my guests and their taste preferences. So I used the rice pasta, which is very much available in Ambrosia. So you do you use whatever noodle or whatever replacements you want, and rock and roll. I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna take a break, and then we're gonna do a whole nother recipe.
Welcome to a land of gastronomic delight, of quaint restaurants and world-class cookery, a place where taste buds tap dance on your tongue from the moment you arrive to the moment you bid farewell. Welcome to Ambrosia! Local produce, freshly grown by our farmers, is lovingly peeled, chopped, stirred, tossed and crafted into delectable and unique dishes found nowhere else on earth. And then, and only then, do the food feuds begin. And cooks from all corners of the world fight to become the epic chef. Welcome to Ambrosia!
If Pangan Stroganoff was not filling or delicious enough for you, we're about ready to do our second recipe. Now, the next recipe is the roasted hypnofish. Surprising, I was very surprised that it looks and tastes just like salmon. So, I mean, if you can't find hypnofish, which is by far the tastiest of all the fishes, I think salmon is a wonderful replacement, so that's what we're going to use. And Irwin is a little difficult to find as well, so I replaced that with mango. But try to get the legit ingredients from Ambrosia, because those are absolutely the best. So we're going to get started. We are going to start by prepping our salsa. Now, Irwin fruit is absolutely delicious. It grows from the Irwin tree. It is a fruit wood, so it's actually also, the tree is great for smoking, like barbecue. Anytime you want to do like smoked meats or smoked whatever. Could get the wood, could not get the Irwin fruit because it is not in season from Ambrosia. So I went ahead and got some mango. So I already started cutting some mango. Simply dice it up. Like so. Super easy. Next, I got some cherry tomatoes. I'm just quartering them. I think I maybe have like a dozen or so here. I'm quartering them. I'm following the little root end here. It actually stays intact a little better if you make it just like right through there. And putting those in the bowl. I'm going to use half a red onion. You could see onions are kind of like people in life. They have layers. There's that root end, bunch of layers. So I keep just enough of this intact so when I cut it, it stays together. And what I'm going to do to make nice little dices, I don't even think that's a word, chops like this. And then I'll pick it up and show you why. So you can see all those layers, there's the camera, all those little layers. I did a bunch of vertical cuts So that way when I do my next cuts, they're all kind of somewhat similar. I'm not going to care about being too super accurate. But there you go. And once we get all the way to the end, I just shot a bunch of red onions somewhere. So once I get to about right here, I would use this for, I'd save it for like soups and stocks and stuff like that. So don't waste it, compost it, whatever, but I just don't use it. I'm super picky about my cilantro. Do you get it? Because I'm picking the cilantro from the... Got a nice little pile of picked cilantro. We're going to just rough chop. There's no way that your little pieces are going to be very even. So just make sure that they're kind of chopped. Look at that. Look at how much knife skill I'm showing. Just going crazy. Just like that. I like to take the lime and roll it on the cutting board a little bit. This is actually releasing some of the juice on the inside. And before you cut it, okay, super light. You don't have to go crazy. But even when I use citrus, lemon, lime, orange, I always like to use zest because it's a little different flavor than the juice. The juice is very citric acidy, sour, where the zest is more like the candy version that you may have, you've tried and are familiar with. You don't want to go any deeper than that. That white stuff in there is a little on the bitter side. And you can see lemon zest. Lemon zest, that's lime. Lemons are yellow, FYI. Now we're going to cut this in half. I'm probably going to use just half. Get all the lime juice out. Like so. Jalapeno. Use gloves, okay? I'm using one glove because this is the only hand that's going to touch jalapeno. The other hand is touching the knife. Ungloved hand should not touch the jalapeno because when I rub my eyes later or whatever, it's going to burn. So, I like to take little ends off. I cut it into quarters. That's just how I do it. Okay. Now, most of the heat is actually in the seeds and the like the veins, the white part in here. So I actually cut those out like so. Okay. And I'm going to dice that up. One thing I'm going to do with these jalapenos is I'm going to cut it a lot thinner, a lot smaller than the other stuff I diced in this salsa. The reason is, I mean, you can put big old chunks of jalapeno in this, but then you're going to bite into a big old chunk of jalapeno. You can cut it real small and tiny, so that way at least a jalapeno is well dispersed in your salsa. So for those of us who don't like it way too spicy, it won't be as bad. Like that. To finish it off, I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to add some black pepper. And I am going to mix. Now, I like doing this first because I like to put this back into the fridge. I might do this the day before I'm actually making my dish. Let all these flavors and ingredients meld together, soften up. There's lime juice in here. The tomatoes are going to release its juice. So you're going to have a little more liquid at the bottom. And I just think it makes a much tastier, better salsa. I'm very excited as this is the first time I'm doing the sing cam. Very exciting, but I've got 1 1/4 cups of jasmine rice here. And we are going to rinse it until the water runs clear. We're doing this for a couple reasons. Could be removing some debris. Who knows what's mixed up in the rice. But also, obviously, with rice being shipped to you, where it came from, kind of broken up, there could be like little pieces, a little basically rice flour that's within the rice. And when you cook rice flour, it turns into glue. So if you want to have your rice to be like nice and fluffy and not sticking together, this is what you're going to want to do ahead of time. In this pot, I'm going to add 1 can of coconut milk. I'm going to do what you're not supposed to do and eyeball a half a can of water. Oh, better turn out. I'm going to add a nice pinch of salt. Like so. I'm going to add our nice washed jasmine rice. Like so. I am going to give it a quick stir. And I'm going to bring this to a boil. Once we hit a boil, I'm going to turn it on low. And I'm going to put the lid on. And hopefully, our rice is going to be awesome. Try to make sure all of the little pieces of rice are at least in the liquid and none are stuck to the side. That happens to me every once in a while. All right, we are going to season our hypnofish. Now, first I like to put a little olive oil in the bottom. Like so. Okay. Then I'm going to take our hypnofish. Like I said, if you don't have hypnofish, you can totally use salmon, I think is a good choice. And I'm just getting the olive oil. Ooh, I found a little. Oh! You should probably always check. Oh. Did I get it? Come here, you. Got it. Okay. Now, I am purposely kind of folding under that little part. That real thin, tiny little side would probably burn, just because that would cook a lot faster than the rest. So I'm just going to give it one of those. Now, one thing I was looking for in ambrosia was some kind of citrus. Lemon I wanted. Could not find lemon. But apparently, if you dry lemon jellyfish, grind it up, it's almost like a lemon powder. And I mixed it with pepper for a lemon pepper. If you cannot find lemon jellyfish, regular old lemon pepper should do the trick. And I'm just going to season it like so. It is that simple. And I'm going to bake these in the oven at 400 degrees until they're done. I don't know, like 10 minutes. I'll check. It is time to plate. I got a fancy plate. I thought it would look cool with the black rim because we got white rice. That might look awesome. Jasmine rice. How do I want to do this? So, with a lot of my videos, I don't have a script. I don't necessarily have a recipe or a plating idea. I'm just kind of... That looks like a nice portion of rice. A nice little bed. I'll probably do my salsa next, because I think that'll look really pretty with the salmon on top. We got our salsa. It's been sitting around for a little while. You could see the juice now at the bottom. It's perfect. This is perfection. That Irwin fruit, fortunately I couldn't get it, so I used the mango. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. I'm going to make a nice salsa bed for a hypnofish. In this case, salmon. Looking like that. Look at this guy. You go back in there. You go back in there. I'm trying to keep you a little bit contained. There we go. So we don't necessarily have a sauce, so I'm adding a little extra of this salsa, which we're going to mix in with the rice and all that fun stuff. All right. We got our salmon. I am using my hands. If you are serving guests and judges, you should probably use gloves. I, of course, washed my hands. You should do that anyway. And I'm going to finish. I want a little more green. How about a little green onion over the top? Look at this. Just a little sprinkle. I'll let it kind of fall randomly. This is not random enough. Isn't that weird? Like so. Boop. And there you have it. And just like that, your hypnofish is done. We've got our Irwin fruit salsa, where I had to use mango, unfortunately. And of course, I had to use salmon in the dish. And then our coconut milk rice. Super easy, delicious, flavorful. I'm going to eat way too much, and I'm on a diet, but I'm going to eat it anyway. So I'm Chef Mike. This was Chef Mike Does Stuff. Thank you to Team 17 and Epic Chef for sponsoring this video. And thank you, people out there, for joining me. And most importantly, thank you to Ambrosia for making me your culinary representative. I highly recommend you go and visit. If you think your culinary chops are up to the task of challenging some of the friendly locals, give it a shot. Until next time, I hope to see you in my kitchen again.